Welcome to the Coffee with the Supervisor, and I have a special guest today, and this is Tess Hulse, who is the Executive Director of Libor, and that's Libor, and that stands for Long Island Board of Realtors. So tell me about Libor. Now, I understand Libor has about 30,000 members. Tell me what Libor does.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me today, Ed.
It's a pleasure to have you.
The Long Island Board of Realtors, as you said, it's 30,000 members, and we are a not-for-profit trade organization. We serve the counties of Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk. And
mostly residential, right?
Yes, we do have commercial, and we have.
Well, I know you have commercial, and you have some industrial. There's a separate group for industrial and commercial real estate brokers, but they also can belong and do belong to Libor.
That is
but
correct.
Most of the people that belong, who are members, do residential. Single-family homes, condos, apartments, and they do the whole host of real estate things, right?
Correct.
So everything from buying and selling, representing buyers or sellers, and all types of real estate, condos, co-ops, single-family homes, even rentals of
Yes.
homes, apartments, condos, etc. So it handles the whole gamut of real estate issues.
Yes. And due to our geography, where we cover, we are both one of the largest local associations in the country and one of the most diverse.
Wow, that's interesting. So you provide the professional impetus for real estate brokers and salespeople, because there's a difference. Salespeople, you only need to take X number of courses. Brokers, you need to take more, and most brokers tend to own the real estate business that they provide.
Correct. And our role within the industry is that we're a trade association, so we advocate for our members, which of course means we end up advocating for homeownership and future buyers and future sellers. Things like the mortgage interest deduction, the National Flood Insurance Program. These are perennial issues that are homeowner issues, but there is no National Association of Homeowners.
Absolutely.
So we go.
So you advocate for homeowners. One of the things that I'm sure you're advocating is the exceptionally high fees that is charged by the county clerk's office for recording mortgages or deeds well in excess of the cost of providing that service.
When municipalities and other entities look to add surcharges to real estate transactions, what they're actually doing is pricing some potential buyers out of the market. So, some fees are justified, and if they're justified and necessary, then, so be it. But to add extra taxes to try to just raise revenue off of the backs of purchasers and homeowners, it's not a very good way to encourage housing.
Absolutely not. If you ever get underway, let me know. I was county clerk in Suffolk County for 16 years, and I think the fees that they're charging now is simply a way of doing a backdoor tax, as opposed to a fee related to service.
Right, like mortgage stamps and things like that.
Right, mortgage taxes is amongst them, filing fees, etc.
We often see that, especially in economic trying times, that when municipalities look at where they can get some revenue, they go, oh, well, home purchases are so large, no one would notice just this. But the problem is that, these aren't large companies making these purchases.
Right.
These are individual families who save up, or individuals saving up to buy that home, and every dollar added can price somebody back out.
That's important, and I know that as of late, Libor has taken a lead with fair housing.
Yes.
We're making sure everyone has an equal opportunity to live where they want. And one of the things is sources of income.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that program.
Well, yeah, as you said, fair housing has been the law since 1968. In New York, legal source of income protection passed in 2019, so it is actually one of our newest protected classes. And there was a lot of news in the fair housing world.
And what does that mean, legal sources of income, for people that are hearing the phrase for the first time? What would that mean?
So I would encourage anyone to go visit our website, which is homeforallofus.org, where we list out a whole list of potential sources of income. But it can be everything from alimony, foster care payments, former military payments.
So all of those types of income have to be calculated when you look at someone's ability to purchase a home.
Right, and so they're treated.
or to rent a home.
They need to be treated as any other legal source of income. You cannot treat one source of income differently. And of course, when we talk about source of income, certain programs jump to mind, such as Housing Choice Voucher Section 8. Those are also legally protected sources of income in New York.
And Section 8 is?
So this is a government subsidy. That
Some people refer to it in other ways, but Section 8 talks about a government subsidy for housing where if you are of low to moderate income.
Yes, and you do have to meet certain program requirements.
Right.
And it helps offset those rents.
Right.
So that you can afford to live in those communities.
And what is the standard for your income for
You know,
rent?
that I would send you to a housing administrator.
30%.
And
It's 30%
believe
of
that's
your
right.
income. No one should pay more than 30% of their income.
Right.
So if your income is zero, you pay no rent. But if your income is $1,000 and you pay $300 towards it, and the government subsidizes the rest under Section 8 program. All Section 8 programs that are run, I believe every municipality runs some type of housing program. Either through, we do it right. In fact, right next door is our Housing Community Development Office. Most governments have that. If they don't, they contract with a not-for-profit to provide that service, like CDC or something of that, Community Development.
And then there's also the
Corporation.
enhanced vouchers to help get people into communities that vouchers haven't traditionally been hit the market price within.
Right.
So there's a couple different programs out there, and it all falls
There's
under.
long waiting lists. Just so everyone knows that we probably have several thousand on our Section 8 waiting list. And I know people say, oh, Section 8, oh my God, that's not going to help our neighborhood. But they're wrong.
Yes.
Because a properly administered Section 8 program has to invoke housing quality standards, which are sometimes even stricter than local building codes.
So I've looked through the standards, and by and large, they are just basic security that you would want in any property. And I would go on to say that, you know, some of these programs have stigmas attached to them, and as you said, these are unfair stigmas. And in fact, part of the reason we're running an awareness campaign is we want to raise awareness of the benefits. Right now, rent moratoriums are very fresh in many housing providers' minds. But those housing providers that had tenants with subsidies received regular, steady, guaranteed payments.
Absolutely.
And so now's a really good time to maybe talk about some of the benefits as we let go of some of these old stigmas.
Well, I know the state imposed rent moratoriums, which makes it very tough on landlords, because anyone thinking of investing in real estate has to think twice, because if there's a moratorium and you have tenants that don't pay, that makes it difficult to get a return on your investment. But as you point out, under Section 8, those rents were paid whatever.
time.
And the emergency rent assistance program, we went through that like a hot knife through butter. We gave out all of ours, and we could have used a great deal more money. We were one of the most efficient, quickest towns in getting that money out, and we got that all out. So we used all of that money because there's a tremendous need for that, particularly coming out or during and coming out of this pandemic.
Right. And so now's a great time to talk about source of income and
Right.
making sure that everyone gets an opportunity to live where they choose to live.
Absolutely. We're a great believer in fair housing and people having the ability to live where they want, providing they can afford it and they have the legal source of income.
Right.
And talk a little bit about your program about that.
Sure. So we launched a website, homeforallofus.org. And the goal of the program is to kind of raise awareness. Again, as I said earlier, this law was just passed in 2019. A lot of people have the 7 federally protected classes from 1995 in their head, but that class has been expanded. And in New York, they added legal source of protection. So by making sure that housing providers are aware of legal source of income protection, they can make policies and decisions that actually comply with the law and further fair housing in their communities.
And help people wind up with a habitable place to live, something that is meet code. We have problems all the time with people. We have an accessory apartment law, but you have to meet certain qualifications for that. We do not permit currently Airbnbs, and people who rent have to get rental permits. And the reason for that is we do inspections of both. The towns and villages are responsible for inspecting for building code compliance and fire safety compliance. And we find a lot of people choose not to get rental permits because they don't want to go through the inspection process.
Right, but the safety part is so important when we talk about affordable housing. It has to be safe and affordable.
About 2 or 3 blocks, we had someone die in a illegal apartment that was a basement apartment in a fire because they didn't have,
Egress.
the egress. They didn't have the smoke alarms. They didn't have carbon monoxide alarms. The town wants to see everyone live in a decent house that will meet, whether it's rented or you purchase it or whatever, or it's an apartment, a condo, a co-op, whatever, that it meets basic New York State building codes and fire safety codes. That's why if you're going to rent, we say make sure your landlord gets a rental permit, because that requires us to do an inspection and certify it. And those permits, I believe, are good for 15 months. So that's some of the things that happen in the town. What are ways that the town can help work with Libor?
So if you have property managers and landlords, we would encourage them to visit our site, homeforallofus.org, and take a look at the information we have. We have an FAQ, about 12 questions long. We also at the bottom have an email, info@homeforallofus.org. That FAQ will grow as we hear from housing providers, as we hear from community partners in fair housing, as we hear from the public. As they add questions to that list, we're going to add answers to that list as well. But I would encourage them to go there and learn about legal source of income, see all of the potential types of source of income, and also look at the consequences for not abiding by this law, because they are very steep.
Right.
If willful violation can come with civil penalties of up to $250,000 per occurrence.
Wow.
And on top of that, someone who's been discriminated against can go after the defendant for emotional distress due to homelessness, and there is no cap on that. And additionally, the defendant could end up paying all of the plaintiff's attorney fees. So it's important that if you are providing housing, that you understand legal source of income protection in New York, that you have policies and you make decisions within your company that follow legal source of protection income in New York, and give everyone that fair shot at stable, safe housing that lets them go on and build the rest of their lives around that.
No, it's been very helpful to our viewers. Let me ask you, maybe we end this very quick segment with talking about other services that your membership provides the general public, real estate brokers, their value in real estate transactions.
You know, it's hard to overestimate what a broker and an agent actually do. For the normal American, homeowner, we tend to stay in our homes anywhere from 7 to 12 years, which means that you go through a resale and a purchase maybe once a decade. Mm-hmm. That's not often enough to be good at anything. It's not often enough to keep up with all of the laws and the regulations and the required disclosures.
So a broker can help.
Having a trusted professional guiding you through this process, telling you what you need to know, what to look out for,
Home inspections, for example.
Home inspection.
You're buying a
when
house.
Do you schedule that? When is it due back by?
Yeah. Get a home inspection. Get someone that's a professional to inspect, make sure all the defects are there, accounted for, and addressed before you buy, or at least some money set aside so you can deal with it once you've purchased it.
Right.
But be knowledgeable about that. I've known brokers who attend closings,
yes.
Oftentimes, to make sure that everything is smooth and there isn't a problem at the closing in terms of any of the documentation
that is needed. Well, and
also
questions that come up. Again, it's when you purchase a home, there tends to be a stack of papers.
Title search, it starts off. Make sure that you own this. Make sure that what you're buying, you know what you're buying. That, I thought that piece of property over there was part of my property. Or, I didn't realize that. So a title search is like basic.
And surveying and appraisal. All of these things need to happen at certain times in the transaction.
Oh wait, there's a shed on the
Having someone
property,
there
and
is
it's
wonderful.
it's larger than the shed that's normally allowed, so it needs a CO, a certificate of occupancy. Oh, there's a pool, and it has no certificate of occupancy.
Right.
These are things that can trip buyers up.
Right. And what about out of market?
Or
like
sellers.
me? I came from a different market, so
Right.
I had to learn about, waterfront. I had to learn about septic. I had to learn about garbage disposals, because again, it's you know what you know. But every home you purchase, especially if it's anywhere outside of where you previously
Every
lived, you get
town-
a lot of questions.
Right. Every town is different. In Brookhaven, the town created little garbage districts, which put them out to bid so it's competitive, and we get the best price. And we service 119,000 single and two-family homes. We don't service apartment houses, condos, co-ops. We don't service any commercial or industrial, so that's just homes. And they get 2 pickups a week and 1 recycling pickup for 171 pickups a year. So that's what we do in this town. But other towns are different. Babylon Town, for example, where your office is located, right at the junction on Sunrise Highway near 109, right, on the south side of Sunrise Highway, is in Babylon handles all garbage, commercial, industrial, multifamily, and single-family home.
Right.
So every town is different in their approach, and they obviously have a much higher garbage expenses than we do. So it's interesting to learn. And the one person I think that can probably help people who are buying homes is the broker.
Yes.
Because the broker is local. Many of the brokers have been around for many years. They know the community, and they can get you answers to questions that people might have about garbage or sewage. Some of our town is on cesspools.
Right.
Some of our town is on sewers, and it depends on where you are in the town.
Right. And so, again, having a guide, an advisor
Right.
to kind of walk you through, answer the questions that you have, and also sometimes say, you haven't asked me this.
Right.
Right? So it's, I've been in the industry almost 2 decades.
Right.
That I've been working in and around realtor associations with real estate agents, and I still have as many questions as I did when I bought my first house.
Right. Are you on well water? Which you will
Right.
probably won't ask so much in Western Suffolk, but in Brookhaven, in parts of our town, there are people still on well water, as opposed to what would be called public water or Suffolk County Water Authority water. So these type of questions are so crucial for getting a broker involved, so you know what you're buying, you know the location. And again, what are the 3 most important things in choosing real estate?
I think it's location.
Location.
And what's interesting is that is different for every single person.
Right.
When we go back to talking about housing choice,
Right.
whether it's source of income or anything else,
Right.
why someone chooses that this is the right place for me, it might be relative to their work, it might be relative to family that they want to be close to, it might be for any number of reasons that would not matter to anyone else.
Right.
And that's why it has to be housing choice, that we have to help people get into the homes that they can afford and that they want, whether it's rental.
Tell me your source
or
of
purchase.
income. I'll tell you what's available, where the communities that you want to look at. Here are some things that would interest you.
Yeah, and so that's, again, it's realtors and real estate definitely go hand in hand.
Well, it's hard to thank all the realtors for what they do, but it's easy today because the Long Island Board of Realtors, Libor, represents all or most of the people who are real estate sales and or brokers, either in the residential, commercial, industrial market. So I want to thank you for coming in and giving us a better view of what Libor, the professional organization for realtors, does. So, Tess, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been
Right.
great to see you.
Great. Good to see you.